So yeah, welcome again to our first UN Mappers Mappy Hour. So if this is your first time, you're a newbie, you don't know what a Mappy Hour is. So yeah, Mappy Hour is very straightforward. It's an online hangout. It can also be in person, but in our case, it's an online hangout where we map and we also talk, discuss about data, maps, projects, and yeah, anything in the community. So yeah, welcome. This is actually a Mappy Hour inspired by the OpenStreetMap US community. And yeah, UN Mappers 101, if this is your first time, just a little more about UN Mappers. So yeah, the UN Mappers community, it's a collective of open mapping enthusiasts where we are dedicated to build accurate and crowd work geospatial data to support peacekeeping and humanitarian missions on the ground. So yeah, together we map, we collect, validate, disseminate geospatial open data in areas where the United Nations carries out field operation. So yeah, objective is to leverage mapping to crowdsource open geospatial data to support UN missions. So yeah, if you're interested to join us, you can join our Discord, and yeah, you can find more information on the community on our community page in the UN Maps website. I'll share the link later. So yeah, who are the UN mappers? UN mappers is you, is everyone. And yeah, everyone is welcome to join the community, from professionals to local communities, even yeah, our uniformed personnel on the ground, militaries, even the academia, and yeah, trainers, and even yeah, youth, remote volunteers, remote contributors, who yeah, is in solidarity to help build uh, maps for peacekeeping missions. So yeah, where do the maps, or where are the data that we create being used? So as mentioned, it is mainly so the target mainly is to help support UN missions, but of course since it's open data, it can be accessible by everyone. It's already an OpenStreetMap, but yeah, for UN for UN missions, we use it for planning, navigation, security, even yeah, doing logistics on the ground, and humanitarian relief. So yeah, how does UN Mappers contribute to this UN map? So this is just yeah, a very simple workflow. We have some task or projects in a tasking manager or map roulette, and then that's when we do crowd mapping, when we publish those projects. And then yeah, we have validators, expert validators, expert mapping validators from the community, and also professional validators that we have in our mapping teams. And yeah, and it produces mapping high quality data where we upload it in the UN map services, the maps on demand, where yeah, the missions are able to access it and also print it in the field. And yeah, this benefits not only UN missions but also yeah, the local communities. So yeah, how do you get involved, or how do we become a UN mapper? So yeah, there are three ways, three things you can learn, map, and join our community. So yeah, first, yeah, you learn. We're happy to everyone who's here, especially the newbies. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. This is the first step to becoming a UN mapper. You learn through yeah, trainings, and yeah, we also have some internships. So yeah, you can check that on the website later. Yeah, as mentioned, we have the learning hub where we upload our trainings. So yeah, we have upload. It's a self-paced course, so you can do it anytime, anywhere you want. We have OSM basics and also advanced OpenStreetMap training. It's also in different languages such as French, Portuguese, Arabic, I think even Chinese. We have volunteers who translated it in Chinese. So yeah, and not just like that not just a course where you get to read and learn, but also we have quizzes in there. And yeah, one of the upcoming courses that we're looking at is having, yeah, QGIS as well, in the Learning Hub. So yeah, you can access it, mappers.un.org/learning. Although yeah, we are on the process of migrating the Learning Hub. But yeah, for now, it still can be accessible in mappers.un.org/learning. And yeah, next, yeah, you can map with us now that you learned about OpenStreetMap. Now that, after our demonstration later, you can, yeah, start mapping, doing some armchair mapping or remote mapping. Also, you can collect some GPS on the ground, or yeah, you can also contribute as well to open source developments or projects relating to mapping tools. And yeah, join and connect with the community. As mentioned earlier, we're in Discord. That's our main communication channel. And yeah, we also, recognize mappers through our social media accounts. So yeah, please follow and like social media accounts. We post there any updates, communications, yeah, about UN Mappers community. So yeah. And actually, today we have Validation Friday. So thank you so much for all the validators joining us in this meeting, and even in their own time validating our projects. And yeah, you can learn more on our website, maps.un.org. So, as mentioned, right now we're gonna map. So, yeah, just showing you which will be the projects to map and projects to validate. Of course, validators, you can also validate already the projects to map that we're mapping right now. Yeah, in case, yeah, there's already map task. So yeah, we'll show these slides again to you later. And yeah, after this, I'll pass it to Mikkel to demonstrate mapping, and we'll open the breakout rooms as well. All right. Are there any questions? I think, yeah, that's the last slide. Yeah. Any questions for now? You can raise your hand or ask on the chat. Or yeah, and later you can also, yeah, if you have any questions for later that you're not able to answer or to ask now, or any suggestions, feedback you have, we also have a feedback form. So yeah, we'll share all the links on the chat later. Yeah, so if there's any no questions, I'll pass it over to Mikkel, and yeah, we'll open the breakout rooms as well. Mikkel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Arnali. Yeah, so as Arnali said, today we are going to have like some overview of the mapping activities that we do in UN Mappers. It's actually not the like what you usually see when doing OpenStreetMap mapping, because like usually you can see many projects about mapping building footprints, for example. But in our case, we are producing topographic data. So we are focusing on some features that are not usually found in other projects, which are the basically the villages and the barriers. So we are mapping land use where villages are located, as well as barriers that are like edges of vegetation, especially in desertic areas, used to delineate like some areas. We do have road mapping and waterways mapping sometimes. Not right now, because the projects that we opened right now are all in Somalia. That is like a desertic area. There are some rivers in the southern part of the country, but not in our projects. So maybe I would like to ask whether you already have some experience on using the tasking manager of HOT, the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, to do the editing. Uh, okay, yes, I see some thumbs up. I don't know whether there is somebody that is like totally new to the mapping. I see a breakout room for the validators that are newly shared. So the projects that we are going to focus on today are those. Let me copy the addresses in the chat. So those are for validation, and those for the mapping. If you're mapping for the very first time, I suggest you start from the villages and barriers. That is like the easiest project. So let me know if you need assistance at any time. Uh, I guess you see my screen. So
Yes.
yeah, so let's say that we are very beginners to the mapping. So we want to map this project that is called the number is 18469. So I see already somebody here. So when we are accessing a tasking manager project, we see like a description of the project. And in this particular one, we have to map villages and barriers. So we don't have to map anything else. We can see a grid. So the idea is that every user can kind of block one area for their mapping activity. So in order to access it, I just click on contribute. And you see, once I click on contribute, of course, I need to have an OpenStreetMap account already. But I will access a part with let's say the general instructions on the project. And how to map the different features that are in this project. So let's start with a task. So I will show like very briefly for the newcomers how is the activity done. I just click on a task here. So let's say I want to map this area. I will click now on the map selected task. And you see on the screen, I will have the satellite imagery chosen for this project that is coming from Esri, and an area that can be a rural area or a urban area. So we don't know what we are going to find, and we have to map. We have to map the different features that are being asked by the project. So in this case, we are mapping villages and barriers. I will share later what barriers are, because in this particular image, I don't see anything to map. So when mapping for a tasking manager project is also very important also not to map if there is nothing to be added. I mean, we are not requested to map mandatorily every time. Because like in this case, I see a lot of vegetation. So you see like there is a very dense kind of wood area, and then like a scrub all over the place. So I mean, it's mostly scrub. So this is typically land cover that we also use to map, but when doing like crowdsourcing or volunteering community activities, we are not mapping them because it's like a bit difficult to edit the land cover. So in this case, I don't find in my task any area that has a village or a barrier. So I will say that the task is completely mapped, because I'm focusing on adding the features that I want to map in this project. So in this project, I'm only figuring out villages and barriers. So you see, this task is completely mapped. I can leave a comment or not. In this case, is fine. I can just say that's okay, and I submit the task. So once I submit the task, you see the square becomes light blue. It means that it was mapped by a user. We define validation on OSM, basically reopening the same area and mapping again in the same area to check whether everything is complete or not. If I edited some data, this will be always in OSM, whether I mapped or validated. I mean, there are no several phases, so OSM is nice. Also, I mean, especially because whatever you map is going directly to the database. We can focus maybe on a uh, more urban area. I will take this task here. Oops, sorry. Let me take it again. So I do the same process. I selecting one task and then starting mapping. And in this image, I can see some barriers indeed. I can see actually many things. I see reservoirs, so ponds of water, artificial ponds of water within these barriers, which is very interesting. I can see one place name. This is well, it's actually a name, a point of water with a name. I will keep it there, but it's not necessary to touch whatever we don't need to map in this session. But I can see, for example, a barrier. So you see, this is what we define the barriers. So these are basically barriers of vegetations, and we typically use to map those because the missions are interested in knowing whether some parts of the territory are delimited for any purpose. So in this case, you see, these barriers are like delimiting the usage of these water reservoirs. So in this case, I will map my first barrier. What I have to do is to select line, and I will click on line, and then with my mouse, with my left button, I will click on every on the vertices of this barrier. You don't have to be like super precise because like even this is another topic. Once mapping, you don't have to go like into the really details, but you just need to focus on your application. In this case, we are mapping for topographic maps, so it's also fine to add this level of details. Details can be simplified later on, but that is what we do. So once I close my line, I will close it here by double clicking the same point. So you see I'm creating like a line that is closing on itself, and this will be mapped as a hedge. So this is, you see, is a polygon, but I didn't select area because if I would select area, this would be considered like a field area that is not. So we are mapping just like a line. So what I do is just to select line, click on the different vertices, and then add the tag. So this is the way to map edges. And I can do the same here. So once I have like this kind of barriers, like one close to the other, I mean, those are three barriers all adjacent to each other, I will map only the external borders. I mean, we are not interested in, let's say, losing time mapping the internal divisions of the borders. So it's just important for us for the time being to add the external borders. And then, I mean, if some other passionate mapper wants to add also the other lines, I mean, this is free. I mean, everybody is free to do whatever they want on OSM. but for the time being, we are going to map only the external borders. So I will select the line and I put edge as a tag. So also this one will be a edge. So you see, this is the second edge that we mapped. Then I see also a road here that is not existing anymore. Because like, in we will be speaking later on about roads, but typically in desertic areas, I mean, roads are created by simply by people passing over there with vehicles and motorbikes. So roads are appearing and disappearing over time. It's important to know this in desertic areas. So if I visualize the only the imagery, you see these are like basically sand traces over the ground. So I mean traces may appear or disappear over time. So for example, this one is a old road that is not existing in this case. And I can either delete it or adjust it. For the time being, for simplicity, I will just delete it. Um, But mapping roads, yes, in ID editor is usually a bit difficult. I will show later on also the JOSM editor, that is the desktop editor, which is much easier to understand. I'm just going with the flow, like just speaking about the mapping barriers for now, but let me know if you want assistance on any different topic. I will map another barrier, or even like in the very beginnings, like opening an OpenStreetMap account.
Miguel,
I will just, yes.
there's a question on the chat.
Mhm.
Yeah, asking if do we map those whole areas as residential?
Yes, exactly. If we find a village like this one that I can see on my left. So I won't map it because it's not in my task. So the people on my left, the person on my left should map it. But what we do is to enclose all these building footprints with the land use residential area. So the land use is like something that is defined by humans. I mean, it's not something physical that you can see. It's like just how the land is used in that case. So we know that there is a village here. What I will do is to click area and then draw the residential area like this. So I will just trace the line as we did with the barriers. And then here on the tags on the left, I will select residential area, and that is fine. So this is the only thing we need to do for this kind of maps. We are not interested in mapping the different buildings. I mean, not in this project, so they can be mapped or not mapped. That is fine. That is not necessary to map the buildings. So this was about the mapping of residential areas. I don't know, Arnali, if there are any other questions on the chat.
Yeah, that's all. Hopefully, yeah, Pawan, that answers your question. But yeah, if you have any clarification, please do so.
So for the time being, I'm just mapping another barrier. So you see, these are 5 barriers all together. I will just map the external borders. One important thing is not to intersect with any other object. So in OSM, we don't have the concept of geographical layers like in GIS. So what we do is typically not to intersect objects because those will be let's say adjacent. I mean, will be like kind of merged also in the XML data format. So I mean that is easier to just keep them separate. So we'll just click, and create my barrier. So just double click on the last vertex, and I select edge for the tag. So this is like the easiest feature that we typically map. This has like a very strange shape. I will also in this case select only the external borders.
Question, Mikel. Does
Yes.
it do you always have to close the hedge or the barrier? Like, should it go point to point, or can it be also open?
Yeah, that is a good question. That you may find barriers that are actually open, and I will suggest to map them. Even though, like in this case, you see some of the barriers are like kind of disappearing. You see these, I mean, all the barriers, in theory, they are born to enclose something. So
Mm-hmm.
once you find barriers that are open, like open lines, you can map them. But keep in mind that if they are like kind of disappearing, like in this case, you see the one I'm pointing right now is
Mm-hmm.
like taken over by the woods. So the nature is like reconquering the area. So in that case, I wouldn't map this open barrier because it's like not in usage anymore. I will map maybe this one that is circular and small,
Mm-hmm.
but even in that case, like if they are too small, I probably won't map them. Because like one concept to keep in mind when doing a topographic mapping is basically that we have also the concept of scale. So we are not aiming to map whatever we see, because otherwise we will have like too many data and will be also difficult to maintain the map later on. So I will just, as you see, like in my mapping session right now, I'm mapping only the biggest barriers that I can find. Like those that are like very, very small, I probably won't map them. I mean, you can map them, but those will be like farther in the data processing. They will be kind of removed, not from the OSM database, but at least from our maps.
There's a
Uh,
question
yes, go.
again on the chat. What about interactions between barriers and roads? Um, that
Okay.
Arnold, do you mean if they are overlapping or?
Yes, sometimes you can find, I know the situation, you can find the road that is like passing through the barrier. In that case, in that case, typically you can find the barrier not to be completely closed. So I won't map it as a polygon, but rather as a couple of open lines with the road passing through it. If usually if you zoom in, you can find like additional details on where the road and the barrier are passing. But yes, I would map them as yeah, two lines of barriers. Um, yeah, so I would do like this. I mean, I wouldn't close the polygon, but just having the road passing through it. Usually those roads passing through the barriers um, are like passing without any gate or um, any enclosure. Just wanted to mention one thing about this polygon that I'm going to close. You see that in this part, it's going on outside my task. So usually when you have a feature that is crossing the task, I should also complete it from outside, just to say that this barrier has been mapped. What happens is that whenever there is like another user taking the task under mine, when they will download the data, they will also see my mapped barrier. So they won't map twice the same object because they will download the object of which vertices are within their area. In ID editor is much is different because like the browser is downloading also objects that are outside my task, so that is not a problem. But in JOSM it may be useful to know. Anyway, I'm closing later on my barrier. So in this case, yeah, it was having like a kind of complex shape, but yes, I will just map the outside border anyway. I select edge and that is done.
Because
Just scanning.
Arnold,
Yes.
yeah, Arnold has a follow-up question. I saw the attributes barrier equals bump underscore gate on OSM wiki. Can we use it?
Uh,
The tag barrier equals bump underscore gate.
well, we are using a barrier equal to edge. Let me see. Do you? I can go on wiki OSM. Features. So usually, this is something related to the OSM tagging model. So OSM is like basically an XML data format. You can add different tags. Um, it's like a non-relational database because basically you can add uh, let's say columns or like semantic classifications as far as you want. Like you can just invent new tags, even though the most used tags are usually discussed within the community and accepted like in a democratic fashion. But in this page, like WikiOSM map features, you will find all the tags that are accepted by the community on OSM. So the most common tags. And if we go on barrier, you see, we can see all the available tags for barriers. In our case, we are using mainly barrier equal to edge because it's a line of closely spaced shrubs and tree species. That is what we are mapping right now. Otherwise, we sometimes we are mapping walls. So there are, I mean, walls are made by bricks or concrete or rocks, and they are delimiting areas as well. Um, and I didn't understand very well the what is the tag that was proposed
It's bump underscore gate.
for the barriers.
Mhm.
Here is bump gate. Um, okay, so there is also a picture in which there is like yeah, it's basically um, well, if you the nice thing of the WikiOSM is that every tag has their own wiki page, so we can learn about this. So the bump gate is a drive-through gate used in rural areas to provide a barrier to livestock that does not require the driver to exit the vehicle. So it's basically yeah, kind of a gate. Mm, well, we are not going into that detail. If you find one and you want to map it, feel free to map it. Yes. I mean, if you are confident that you are seeing like a bump gate on a barrier. So yes, that can be mapped. And ideally, you should map it as a separate object. So you have the barrier, then you have like a segment that will be the bump gate. So yeah, but let's. I mean, I will focus more on the like yeah, the barriers without going into very detail.
Awesome. There's another question from
Okay.
Paulan. If the area is already marked as a land cover, do we still need to map the individual barriers or hedges?
If it is already marked as a land cover, it's like if it is already mapped.
Yeah, like maybe if it's mapped already as a farmland, do you still map the individual barriers inside that land cover?
Yes, the barrier will be mapped anyway, despite the land cover below it. But keep in mind not to connect objects anyway. So the barrier should be all the vertices of the barriers should be like a separate object by themselves. So like if I have I don't know another line with the border of the farmland, I shouldn't connect the nodes of the barriers and the farmlands.
Right. Yeah. I have a question about
Yes, yes.
offset. Do we I mean, yeah, if we see that for example, I'm mapping roads, if I see that it doesn't align, the imagery doesn't align with the map feature, do I edit the offset
Yes,
of
yes.
the imagery?
Yes, like this is usually like very, I mean, recurrent question because we have to understand whether the data is having the right offset or the imagery. Keep in mind that most of the data in Somalia are coming from a very old import that was done by some OSM contributors before there were even guidelines for import. So it's like a very old import, and
Mm,
especially the road network. So like most of the data in Somalia regarding road network, it's not very. I mean, you can find probably some main traces, but you may find also a lot of data that is incorrect. So I would, in Somalia at least, I would keep it the offset that the imagery is suggesting me, and review the data almost completely. If this was the question.
thank you. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, you can start mapping right now. We're just, yeah, talking about um different, yeah, about clarifying how to map hedges. But yeah, if you have questions on roads, anyone here mapping on roads, raise your hands.
I can switch to roads.
Yes, yes.
Just will complete the my session here. So you
Okay.
see, I have the different barriers that I finished mapping because those were the main objects. Those objects are still not on OSM. I have to submit them, so I have to save. And here I'm compiling the so-called chain set. The chain set is basically a metadata object that is describing my mapping activity. So in this case, I see some hashtags that are automatically compiled by the tasking manager. It's very important for us that you add hashtag UN Mappers in your chainset comment. I mean, it's already included there, but this allows us to also to count a bit the statistics and how much we are contributing all together. And also by words, I would add added or modified settlements and barriers. I will just say, okay, I added barriers here. And I can upload. I mean, I will select also the source that is aerial imagery. And yeah, and then I upload. So when I upload the data, this data you see is going to OSM, and once it finishes, it's boom, it's in the database. So now it's available to everybody to download and use. I have to close also the task. So in this case, I say the task is completely mapped, and I just skip the comment in this case. I mean, it's very important to keep the comment in the same chain set. I mean, that is mandatory. Well, I mean, it's a good practice to keep it, while the one in the tasking manager is like not mandatory. I mean, you can compile it. It's just to communicate with us if you have any issue. Okay, so I see some tasks are being mapped. That is very good. I see also a hand raised. Feel free to also to open your mic and tell to us.
Yeah, go ahead, Eva. Your hand is raised and you're muted. You're talking. We cannot hear you yet. Eva,
Okay.
can't
Well,
hear you
maybe it's
whenever.
like a bit of stretching, like virtual virtual stretching that is happening.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes, if your mic is not working, you can just type the questions in the chat.
mhm.
In the meantime, I'm going through the road mapping. We still have 8 minutes together. I hope you are enjoying. I mean, the first time is a bit frontal, I will say, but I invite you to join our Discord server, and there we can have like a direct communication. You can also suggest what activities you would like to see from UN Mappers. I don't know, Arnali, if we already shared in the chat the Discord link.
Yeah, I'm sharing it now.
We were joking last time because Discord is like I mean, kind of oxymoron name for the United Nations, but
Uh,
that's okay.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, please join our Discord if you're not there yet. You can, yeah, I'm not sure why it's not showing as a link, but yeah, please do join. We have 7 minutes at the top of the hour. So yeah, thank you so much for being with us for the last 53 minutes. Yeah, any if you have any other questions, any tips from our validators that yeah you'd like to share, yeah, feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourselves, and yeah, let us know how we can help validating easier for you.
Yes, maybe I can go through JOSM. JOSM is another editor. I typically recommend showing ID editor for beginners, especially because it's very easy to use. You just access it from the browser, so it's like easy to use and I mean direct because you don't have to download any software. And actually, I have to say that recently is going to, I mean, is becoming more and more complex. So like there are also advanced users using ID editor. But I'm not an expert with like I'm a bit clunky when mapping there. So the tasking manager is allowing you to choose the editor. So my default option, as you see down below, is JOSM. That is this software in which you see you can download the OSM data. The interface is like more similar to GIS more than ID editor. And you see I'm downloading the different objects and the interface is a bit different. So you see like we have the tags on the right. So here we don't have presets because in ID we have like a preset for the edges, while here we have really the tag as it is in the raw data. So it's track type equal to grade 2, for example, or highway equal to track. So when mapping roads, sorry, I'm using JOSM because it's easier for me to pan and go around the area. I can also massively download data. So like I can do queries, like for example, give me all the highways, highway equal to star. I mean, this is something that you can do. Just showing what JOSM is capable to do, not I don't you are not required to do it. I can build the query and download the data. And you see I'm downloading all the roads that are mapped in the area. So in the my screen. So you see those are the roads. Another thing that you can do in JOSM is to change the colors. I typically change the color of the tracks because the default color is brown, and it tends to mix with the sand, so I cannot really understand what I'm doing. So I changed the color of the tracks. And you see, like in this case, I mean, when mapping roads, it's very important to understand what is the meaning of the road hierarchy. So there are roads of different importance, let's say. There are like primary, secondary, tertiary roads. Then we have unclassified. Highway equal to unclassified is used to connect villages. So when we have like very small villages, we may find unclassified roads. Those, by the way, have to be accessed once all the roads have been mapped. Keep in mind that the majority of the roads that you will be mapping in these projects is like highway equal to track. So it's not difficult to find the right tag. An important thing is also to add the surface information. So we want to say whether an highway is paved or unpaved. So for example, I can see here there is like, you see a track that is not mapped. Mm, let me see. Well, you see like some of the older roads are getting taken back from the nature. So I have also, in this case, I have to map only those roads that are really useful to something. So for example, you see down below to the south here, I can see this road that is connecting one barrier, and this road is continuing connecting this barrier, and then connecting to the main road network. So this is definitely a road that I want to map. So in JOSM, I can map the road in a similar fashion to ID. So I just click the vertices, and I'm adding vertices to one line. But there are also plugins, like for example, Fast Draw. So Fast Draw allows me to just draw the highway with by dragging my mouse. So you see now I'm putting all the vertices. I can come back to clicking if I want. So you see, in this case, I'm going way over my task. So that is not advisable to do, but it's just to show the fast draw. I just double click, and you see I get a simplified geometry, and I'm able to create a very long road in few time. Of course, I have to add also in this case the tags. So I will add in JOSM, we add it manually. So highway track, and then also surface unpaved. In ID editor, you can do exactly the same. I won't submit this road because it's way after my task. Well, actually, there is nobody right now under me, so I can do it if I want. And yeah, like let me just put this road. So to upload the chain set in JOSM, I just click here. The task is already, the chain set comment is already provided, and I upload the changes. Yeah, just JOSM, just to say, like you can do many things. Like for example, I can select whoop. I can select many objects at once. So if I want to select all the edges, you see I can select all of them. And then maybe I can delete if I don't like them, but it won't be the case. Or I can select, for example, all the roads. I can do queries basically. So I can select all the roads that don't have the surface tag. So you see this road, for example, and this one don't have. So I can do validation much easier. I mean, I can see what are the issues that are missing in my particular example. Okay, I think we are over time. I yeah, I don't know
Yes,
if
we are
there are
over
any other
time.
questions or.
Yeah, it's the Mappy Hour, so it's just supposed to be 1 hour. But if it's Mappy Hours, we can have 2 hours. But yeah, it's
Yes.
just
I mean,
singular.
it's
So
also
yeah.
we want to see like if there are like any comments on what we could do differently, or what you want to do, also to propose some activities. Um, and also I want to mention there is Delia in the participants. Delia was a former intern of us.
Hi,
She's from the
Delia.
US.
Hi, how are you?
Great,
Hello.
great to see you here. Um,
We're happy to be here. I'm here with
yeah.
my coworker, Suleiman Jao. We're here in Gambia working together.
Wow. Yeah. Welcome.
Bonjour, bonjour. Comment ça
Yeah.
va?
Yeah, wonderful. Awesome. I will stop the recording now, and then yeah, yeah, we're on the